Okay, now let's look at another example. This is a spinner question. So you may have seen games where you have like a little spinner that you flick and it lands on a number or color. If I have different areas for each color, then each event or each color is not as equally likely to happen, right? I would need to have equal areas for there to be equal likelihood of one of those events happening. So this one is a little skewed. So they said use the spinner to find the probability of each event. So we have a circle here, and we know that a circle is 360 degrees, and then those areas are made up of some central angle. So we can find the probability of something happening by taking that angle that is sweeping out that area and dividing it by 360, which would make up the entire circle. So in part A, they want to know what's the probability that the pointer is going to land on yellow. So we're going to take the angle swept out by yellow, and that's 140 degrees. And we're going to divide that by 360 degrees. And then we're going to reduce our fraction if we can. Okay, so we are reducing that fraction. Remember that if I have 0 here, you can sort of always think about dividing out 10, and then that should reduce to 7/18. So that will be our final answer for probability. In part B, they want to know what's the probability that the pointer is not going to land on green. So one way that we can answer that is we could add up all the other color angles and then divide it by the total. Or another way is that we could just take 1 and subtract the probability of it landing on green. So I'm going to do it that way. So I'm going to take 1 minus 108 divided by 360. And then I'm going to simplify that. So 108 over 360 is going to reduce to 3/10. And I'm going to convert 1 to 10/10 then. And then do that subtraction. So I've got 10/10 minus 3/10. That's going to give me 7/10 for that answer on green. And then I'm going to come down to C. They said, what's the probability that the pointer lands on blue or red? So that's another OR question. So I'm going to add those two parts together and take it out of the whole. So probability of blue, which is 52 degrees, plus red, that's 60. So that's going to give us 112 over 360. And then we're just going to try to simplify that fraction. That's going to give me 14 over 45 for my simplified fraction. Okay, we've come to our last example that is about geometric probability. So they said, here is a circular dartboard. It costs $2 to throw a dart. You win $4 if you hit the square outside of the circle. So I want to think about what that means. I win $4 if I hit the square outside of the circle. So what they're talking about there is the square outside of the circle, these little corner things, those parts. And then they tell us that the radius is 5 inches, right? Radius 5 inches. And they want to know what's the probability that we win $4. So basically probability that I hit the square outside of the circle if we are throwing a dart. So I want to think about, the sample space, which is the entire shape. And I want to think about what is the area of the total shape there. And that's going to be our denominator number, and our numerator number is going to be the total area of those outside of the circle spaces. So first thing I'm going to do is just find the sample space, which is that big square. Now they gave us the radius, but that circle is inside of the square. So that means if I double it, I'll have all the way across the circle, or rather all the way that side of the square. So our square is going to be 10 by 10. So that means it's 100 inches squared. And then I want to think about the area of the circle, and I'm going to subtract it from the total area, because if I subtract out that circle, that will give me those yellow places where I just highlighted. So when I think about area of circle, the formula for a circle is pi r squared. So we're going to take pi and multiply it by r and square the r. So that's going to give me 25 pi. This is something I can plug into the calculator later. So when I'm finding the probability, I want to think, okay, well, my probability is going to be the area of the yellow. The area of the yellow is going to be the big square minus the circle, right? And then in the denominator, we're going to divide by the entire area. So that would be the big square. And then we're just going to plug that into our calculator. So I'm going to have 100 minus 25 pi. For that, I'm getting approximately 2 point, just so you know, I'm just going to plug this all in my calculator, but 2.146, yada, 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 some other decimals there. And that's going to get divided by 100. And so that is approximately 0.2146, and I've truncated off since there. So on your assignment, I believe if you need to put in the decimal form of the probability, I think they ask for 3 decimals. And for the rest of the answers, they ask for a simplified fraction. So you might want to pause there and try those parts of the assignment, and then watch the videos for area and perimeter on the coordinate plane.